Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. All right, everybody, I am back. Good to be back. Good to be back. Good to be back. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Aaron Torres Podcast. And I do want to transition to college hoops. And one thing about this show, I told you about 6 or 8 weeks ago, kind of in the lead up to college football season, I said, look, nobody loves college basketball more than I do, more than Aaron Torres does. But August, September, traditionally slow months. And in the lead up to football season, we're basically going to be mostly talking about football. August, September, very heavy football months. October as well. November, the college basketball season gets here. But before that, I don't know how much college hoops we'll be talking. But if there are relevant college basketball topics, we will discuss them. And I do think we've done a pretty good job of covering them. You go back to last episode, the lead up, we had the first day of full practice in college basketball on Tuesday. I talked about that. Talked about the biggest storylines coming into the season. And then beyond that, we've hit other college basketball stories as they've happened. Derek Lively, top 2 player in America, committed last week to Duke. We talked about that. Chris Livingston, committed to Kentucky, top 5 player. We talked about that. Shaedon Sharpe, top 1 player in America, committed to Kentucky, and we talked about that. Well, there was another piece of college basketball news that happened on Wednesday night, and I do want to talk about that right now, and that was another top 10 player, a kid named Nick Smith Jr., 6'4" guard from Little Rock, Arkansas, North Little Rock High School, made his college decision. Made his decision in a public setting in Little Rock, the city of Little Rock. It was down to the University of Arkansas, Arkansas Pine Bluff, Auburn, and Alabama. And on Wednesday, he made his college commitment. He is, of course, a guard in the class of 2022, which means he is going into his senior year. And drumroll, please, Nick Smith Jr. committed to the University of Arkansas. And so let's get into the commitment and let's break it down. And first of all, what I would say is I don't ultimately think that this is a very shocking piece of news, okay? Nick Smith Jr. About 7 or 8 days ago announced the announcement. So he basically announced that I will be announcing on this day. And when he announced that his commitment would come on this past Wednesday, September 29th, 7, 8 days passed, and just about every piece of information pointed towards the University of Arkansas. I would add on top of that that apparently there was a video that leaked. I think it was from Sports Illustrated of him talking about his commitment to Arkansas. So I'm sure a lot of you saw that. I don't know if anyone at Sports Illustrated got in trouble, but Nick Smith Jr. is an Arkansas Razorback. And if there was any doubt that he was going to Arkansas, I'll just tell you this. I tweeted it out the night that he announced the announcement. And I said he made a public commitment at a local community center in the city of Little Rock. No different than Moses Moody did 2 years ago, okay? Moses Moody, of course, now with the Golden State Warriors, was the SEC Freshman of the Year. And I'm not a rocket scientist. I don't claim to be a recruiting expert either. But when you are from the state of Arkansas, playing high school basketball in Little Rock, and you're making a public commitment in Little Rock and inviting the community, don't think you're picking anybody other than the state school. So Nick Smith Jr. is going to the University of Arkansas. Now, in terms of what kind of player Arkansas is getting, I'll say this. In the lead up to the commitment, regardless of whether it was going to be Arkansas, Alabama, Auburn, Pine Bluff, I called a bunch of people that have played against him, coached against him, I don't think anybody that coached him specifically, but I called some people to really get a scoop on who this guy is. Called 3 different people, and all 3 said the same thing. They said, future NBA player, probably a one and done. So you talk about a top 10 prospect that's probably a one and done. That is who Nick Smith Jr. is. And in terms of the scouting report behind him, what I was ultimately told was this, is that, like I said, I do think he is I know, 6'4" guard from the city of Little Rock. And so naturally, he is going to be compared to Moses Moody, who, of course, was last year's SEC Freshman of the Year. Many believed he should have been the SEC Player of the Year last year, but he was the SEC Freshman of the Year. He ends up being a first-round lottery pick of the Golden State Warriors, and Moses Moody, of course, played last year at Arkansas. And so it's natural to compare this kid, Nick Smith, to Moses Moody, who is 6'5", Nick Smith 6'4", 6'5" range. And what I was told was this: Moses Moody is and was an elite scorer, especially at the college level. Moses Moody, as I said, was the Freshman of the Year in the SEC, averaged almost 17 points per game. But what I was told was, in many ways, Nick Smith is a more complete guard than Moses Moody. Might not average 17 as a freshman, but he is a guy that has the ability to do just about everything that you would want from a combo guard at this age, at this level, going into college basketball. He can handle the ball. He can play off the ball. He can shoot. He can score. He can penetrate. He can pass. And so you talk about, and I've talked about this a lot with the players that Arkansas has gotten, a new age guard that can play modern basketball, not only at Arkansas, but the next level. That is who Nick Smith is. That is what Arkansas got. And they got a top 10 prospect in the high school class of 2022. In the bigger picture, this commitment tells me a few other things as well. First of all, Eric Musselman has done a heck of a job locking down the state borders in Arkansas. And one thing you need to know about Arkansas, I don't know where I didn't do enough homework, okay? I don't know where the population ranks relative to other states, but Arkansas produces a bizarre amount of really good basketball talent through the years. Bobby Portis, Daniel Gafford, Moses Moody, who I just mentioned. Two other players who played key roles on last year's Elite Eight team in Arkansas, who are both back this year, Jalen Williams, Devo Davis, both from the state of Arkansas. I'm sure there's other guys I'm missing. I'm sure there's other guys that I have not thought of. But the Malik Monk, by the way, Archie Goodwin, you go back 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Really good basketball players from the state of Arkansas. And Eric Musselman's done a great job of locking them up. Like I said, last year, I wouldn't say the three most important players on that Elite Eight team at Arkansas were Devo Davis, Jalen Williams, and Moses Moody, but they were right towards the top. I don't know if they were more important than Justin Smith or Jalen Tate, but they were really, really, really close. And so Coach Arkansas, Eric Musselman, has done an incredible job of locking up the borders, keeping up the players that you need to keep in state to have success at the University of Arkansas. And it's worth noting, this is not the only elite player that is committed to Arkansas. On top of that, there are 4 top 100 players in the state of Arkansas in the class of 2022. Joseph Pinion, kind of a wing shooter. He is committed to Arkansas. Darian Ford, a kid that I saw at the Pangos All-American Camp, committed to Arkansas. There's another kid who's committed to Oregon. But you're never going to bat 1,000 in any kid that you want. I mean, even Duke, even whoever, Kentucky, Gonzaga, UCLA, they don't all get every player that they want. But to have 4 top 100 players, to get 3 of them, this after 3 contributors, all freshmen on last year's Elite Eight team, Coach Muss and his staff are locking up those borders in Arkansas. Speaking of Coach Muss, listen, this is a huge win for him, and let me explain why. There was a really dumb narrative when he came to Arkansas from Nevada that he could not recruit or that he would not be able to have success with high school players. I always thought it was stupid. When he was at Nevada, listen, in full disclosure, everybody knows, but when he was at Nevada, I went to a couple of his practices, got to know him and his staff a little bit, really respect them, but this has nothing to do with that. But I always thought that was unfair because back then, this is just 3 or 4 years ago, but not many people were taking transfers, and I thought Coach Muss was really ahead of the curve as it pertained to transfers. And so why would you take a high school player at Nevada when you can get a 4th, 5th year senior, grown man, 22-year-old at a school like Nevada in the Mountain West? You're looking for a kid that has had some success at the college level. It didn't make sense for him to recruit high school players. He had one big-time recruit. His name was Jordan Brown. It did not work out. Jordan Brown, for the record, and I'm not criticizing the kid in any way, shape, or form, is still playing college basketball, was at Arizona and transferred to Louisiana Lafayette. And so I just bring it up to say there was this notion that Eric Musselman could not or would not recruit high school players. I would say he's done pretty well so far. Moses Moody, SEC Freshman of the Year, lottery pick. Devo Davis, I think, is going to be really good this year. Maybe the SEC Freshman of the Year, or maybe the SEC Player of the Year, Also, Jalen Williams is a really, really good player. I would add they have another high school player who redshirted last year named KK Robinson, also from Arkansas, I think is really good. And then, like I said, 3 of 4 top 100 prospects in the class of 2022 are committed to the University of Arkansas, and we assume will sign here in this early signing period. Finally, what I would just say really quickly to wrap up is this. I think this recruiting class is a direct reflection of what happened last spring in the NCAA tournament. And I think, however long Coach Muss is at Arkansas, is independent of the fact that last year's group built the foundation, right? Because it was easy to sell Moses Moody or Jalen Williams or Devo Davis on a dream at the University of Arkansas. It was another thing for those guys to come and execute that dream. And so you look at what happened last March, Arkansas making its first Elite Eight since 1995. You look at their success in the NCAA tournament, and now you're starting to see dividends in the high school ranks. And so I just think when we look back at the long-term, big-picture success of Arkansas basketball under Eric Musselman, I think it will all point back to last year, that Elite Eight run with, obviously, as I've said a few times, Moses Moody, Jalen Tate, Justin Smith, in addition to Devo Davis and Jalen Williams. Incredible commitment for the University of Arkansas. Top 10 prospect Nick Smith is coming. You got to wonder, too, it's going to be a heck of a roster that's around him when you start factoring in transfers, players who may come back, things like that. But this is a great, big, major commitment for Arkansas basketball.